and welcome to Pharma Television News Review here at Nordic Life Sciences Days in Stockholm in 2013. On this show, I have Pontus Frohde, who is the Chief Operating Officer at a company called FundedByMe. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Pontus, FundedByMe is a crowdfunding firm set up here in Stockholm.
Correct.
Crowdfunding has become very popular. It grew out of the United States. So what is FundedByMe doing here in Stockholm? What have you achieved?
Well, FundedByMe was started in 2011 as a reaction when two guys called Daniel and Arno tried to pitch a project on Kickstarter in the US, and they got rejected for various reasons. And then they felt like, well, maybe Sweden and Europe needs a Kickstarter as well. So that's when they set up FundedByMe here in Sweden. And they started with the Kickstarter model, which is a reward-based model. So you present an idea or a product that you want to produce or create. And then, based on your success, your reward back to the so-called backers is often a product or a service.
Right.
So that's the reward-based model, which we work with and which FundedByMe started with in 2011. Now in 2012, we also pivoted into equity crowdfunding, which is basically that you sell a small part of your company to the crowd. So instead of just getting a reward or a product back, you actually get shares in the company.
Right.
And we see that people are more interested, to some extent at least, to have that longer engagement and more formal engagement in the company and in the project.
So in terms of the crowd, obviously the crowd out there are the general public.
Yep.
And obviously in each case they have an interest in the type of company. Been looking, or
mostly yes. I mean, we see a couple of different type of investors. If you look at the equity side, you have the person who is after a return on investment, just as any stock market investment. So the capitalist basically, and then you have the person who is investing in the product because you have a personal interest or personal engagement. And then you also have the family and friends to the actual entrepreneur who may be investing in the entrepreneur.
Right.
So
okay.
Loosely speaking, those are the three types of investors that we see today.
Right. The types of products or individuals that have been backed through FundedByMe, typically in the last few years, what type of companies or products have been backed, or individuals?
We see a kind of a wide range of products or companies. The first one, before we turned on the equity crowdfunding part, we successfully backed a hamburger restaurant that opened up in Stockholm, actually called Flippin' Burger. And they generated a lot of marketing, a lot of awareness, and they ended up having 200 people lining up for the first day. Wow. So there is also a marketing aspect to crowdfunding. So and right now we actually have another fast food type of concept live on the site, which is more of a low carb, high fat type of diet. It's called Eggs Included. So, so those type of local phenomena we have seen. We had a vodka brand, Virtuous Vodka, who about 1 year ago was only an idea, and now it's in 80-something restaurants and bars, and it's also in the assortment of the Swedish monopoly alcohol stores. Right. So so that was also a successful round. We have had a couple of fashion companies. So one Swedish fashion label called Jasha. We had another Finnish company called Bay Bamboo, who produces baby clothes for hospital use only, and specifically to premature babies.
Amazing.
So it's a wide range.
Absolutely.
And now, of course, your next question would be, what about life science?
It could be. But before we go there, to life sciences is really, obviously one thing that comes to mind we can understand the reward system, but on equity, most people will consider that to be under some form of regulated body. So like for an example, in the US, you have to be approved to do that. So how does that operate in Europe at the moment, as you see it?
That is of course something that we are very sensitive to, and we have a partnership with a law firm here in Stockholm, which is an international one. Won't mention any names, but it's a well-known one, and we make sure that they work closely with us to advise us and make sure we comply to each and every market that we are in. But in general, you could say that the model that we have for equity crowdfunding is more or less green-lighted across Europe. It gets complicated when you get into the US because of the Jobs Act, which is not fully implemented yet. However, within a year, we think that's going to be different and better.
Right.
We are looking closely at other continents as well, so Asia and South America, and even there, it also seems like it would work with the model we have right now. But it's something that we monitor closely every day, and we work very tight with the lawyers.
Sure. So let's now turn to life sciences, because obviously that's a slightly different game, because life sciences, to take, bring innovation to the market, it's very, very expensive. It requires significant amounts of money. So where would you think you fit in relation to the life sciences area? Life sciences obviously being a very broad area, running from diagnostics all the way to drugs themselves, medical devices. I presume you're going to be at the sort of early stage seed side.
Again, we haven't had any companies from the life science section yet, although we're having very close discussions with companies in both Finland and Denmark at the time. And I would assume that we will have 2 companies up on the platform before Christmas from life science.
Right.
And to answer your question, I think, yes, we would definitely be in the early stage as things are looking right now. We believe that equity crowdfunding will grow very fast, and probably within 12 to 18 months, we will be able to also move upwards in terms of financing rounds and the size of them.
Right. I assume, let's go back to that crowd that does the funding. Obviously, they're just ordinary folk out there, and as you already mentioned, people often are brought along because of a cult or particular interest they have in a particular area. Do you also get investors, serious investors, high net worth individuals, also participating in crowdfunding?
Absolutely. So I think we have quite a few of those, and we also have a small number of institutions. So you don't have to be necessarily a person. Right. You can also be a legal person, so to speak.
Right. I suppose one other element that people will ask is the due diligence, because normally in a funding situation, you either, if you're participating in a funding round, you either have the opportunity to do due diligence yourself, or you rely on a prospectus that basically underwrites the due diligence exercise. So how does that fit?
During the upload process that an entrepreneur needs to go through, we're trying to make it kind of hard to actually go through that process on our platform. Hard enough, but in order to filter out some of the less qualitative pitches. Then we also have a process for how we then check people, control them. We are connected to a couple of networks that do personal checkups and company checkups, etc. We also have an internal investment committee that meets every week, where we, myself actually, together with all the local country managers, try to go through each of the pitches that we want to take further. And quality and trust are 2 main company values for us, and it's not something that you advertise, it's something that you build over time. So that's one of our key focus areas.
Right. So